Hey guys, welcome to Take a Leap. I'm Ocean Marshall and I'm here with
Neftali Rodriguez.
And today we are just looking back over Dallin Bundy's episode. His episode was super cool. He was the first interview that me and Neftali did together, actually, kind of crazy, and it was in person, really fun. One of the things I really liked that he talked about was when we are trying to make a change, politically, socially, or culturally, that we really just need to show up. That's like really the biggest part, is showing up. And then after we get to that part, then we can start trying to make a change. But in the beginning, it's really just showing up. And I thought that was really cool because it really simplifies things for people that think that it's hard.
100%. I think that's so true because I feel like a lot of us are so busy with our lives, and yeah, we all have things going on. But one thing he says is if we really want to uplift the community that we're in, we can just need to show up. And that just means by like going to local events, maybe, showing up for your friends, just being there. We also need to mention that Dallin Bundy won a Truman Scholarship, which is incredibly hard to get. And he got that by applying himself. He's a really smart guy and he knows a lot about politics, and the way he talks about it is actually really motivating because it's in a positive lens. And something that I liked about the interview was, bringing peace. And the way to go about that is to just talk about politics in a way that can bring peace. I feel like there's a lot of moments where we're often led towards conflict, but I feel like talking positively about one another can be one step closer to bringing peace. And so that's what I loved about the interview.
We're so excited for you guys to listen to this interview. It's one of our favorites, and we think you guys are going to really like it too. Hey guys, welcome back to Take a Leap. I'm Ocean, and I'm here with
Eve Ricks,
May,
Mason,
Francesca,
Emerson, and Emma.
Okay, Eve, what's your favorite song to dance to?
Fantasy by Mariah Carey.
That's a good one. Now you have to sing it for us.
Sweet, sweet fantasy, baby. I close my eyes.
I'm gonna say Dance Yourself Clean by LCD Sound System.
Good question. Nokia, Drake. Yeah.
Can you sing a little bit for us?
Oh, definitely can.
Who's calling my phone?
Who's calling
my phone? Who's calling my phone?
Who's calling
my phone? Who's calling my
Time of Our Lives by Pitbull and Neo.
Second question, very essential. Can you sing it for us?
This is for everybody going through tough times.
Believe me, been there, done that. But every day above ground is a great day.
Okay, for me, it's gotta be Rude Boy by Rihanna. Mine would have to be Super Bass by Nicki Minaj.
Second question, very important, is you have to sing part of the song.
Come a rude boy, can you get it up? Boom, 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 bang. Got that super bass.
Welcome to this episode of Take a Leap. Join us as we talk to young people who are using their faith to change the world.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us in Take a Leap podcast today. I'm Neftali Rodriguez, here with my co-host Ocean.
Hey guys.
And today we have a special guest, Dallin Bundy.
Hello, pleasure to be here. Super excited.
Awesome. So we'll get into Dallin in a sec, but he sent a bio and he said he had to include in all of the good things he's done in life. I love how you added reading a book or dancing with friends.
Oh, yeah, that's like, well, when you see bios online, it's like, okay, but here's the fun thing at the end.
Right.
It says like, oh yes, I am human. that was my portion. So.
Yeah. So do you like to do like any like specific dance, or you're just like dancing around with friends?
Oh no, if there's a party going on, you'll catch me there. Recent thing actually has been silent discos with friends.
Sweet.
If you've ever been to one. Yeah, no, you can, very inclusive, any channel you want for music, and a lot of fun. So
that is so much fun.
It's sweet. So what channel are you in? There's like the hip hop,
Right.
There's a house.
This is gonna expose me. I'm definitely on like the pop channel, like the most, like mainstream, like unoriginal, but fun stuff. I just like to get around and move, and I think it's a lot of fun. And the great thing about dancing is nobody cares.
It's true.
And so
Literally.
I don't know. I just think it's a great way to be active.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that's very true.
Agreed. Like I feel like you take your headphones off because it's all sweaty, and all you're hearing is just like the
Shuffling of feet.
It's kind of funny. Yep. Well, that's sweet. So you're into dancing. Obviously, I feel like letting loose is so important. What about reading? So when you're just calm, what are you reading right now?
Oh, what am I reading right now? Okay, what I'm reading right now is not what I typically read. It's Guns, Germs, and Steel, which is kind of a Pulitzer Prize-winning book that talks about kind of the history of the world in a context of why certain nations rose and others didn't. That makes me sound way more boring than I actually am, I would hope. But I read a lot of epic fantasy. Brandon Sanderson, BYU alum, so love his works. I think they're all just phenomenal.
That's super fun. Do you have a favorite book?
Way of Kings. That's like a classic for
Sweet.
those who have read Brandon Sanderson, but it's just take a little bit of courage, read the full book. It seems a little long, but just take a leap, right?
Right.
You just got to go in. So it's really good.
So yeah, just so you guys know, Dallin is super interesting. He's just not reading books all day. He's dancing. He's having fun. So kind of to introduce him, this is the bio Dallin sent to us, and I'll go ahead and read it, and we'll get into it. So Dallin Bundy is a senior from St. George, Utah, studying political science at BYU. Growing up with political discussions at the dinner table and family reunions, Dallin learned the importance of having civil discourse that is founded upon democratic processes and institutions. Entering college, Dallin served as the BYU SA,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Vice president of activities before becoming politically involved in his local community. Dallin is a former BYU College Republican president, currently serves as co-president for the Nonpartisan Political Affairs Society, and was named a 2025 Truman Scholar for his commitment to public service. Dallin hopes to continue serving others and plans to attend law school. In his free time, as we mentioned, he enjoys reading a book or reading with friends. So, me and Ocean, when we were introduced to you, our coworker was like, "Hey, you won like a Truman Award," and we were like kind of looked at each other. We're like, "What is that? It sounds awesome." I thought that was Truman Show, but I'm assuming it's not that.
Arguably a little bit cooler, actually, if I found like I was living in that life.
You like discovered this thing. So,
Yeah.
can you share a little bit about your journey to becoming that Truman Scholar for this year, but also kind of to those who don't really know what it is? Like, what is it? Because I feel like it holds a lot of impact that most people don't know.
Yeah, and hopefully I do it justice. The Truman Scholarship is a national prestigious scholarship that was founded by President Harry S. Truman. A lot of presidents will create a presidential library after the terms have ended, but instead he wanted to do what he called a living monument. So he actually put money down towards an endowment that would eventually pay out dividends that would go towards a scholarship for students for graduate school, specifically for those committed to public service. And that can be public service in government, nonprofit, even military, kind of a wide range a little bit. Eventually, Congress put in some more funds, and it kind of became the program it is today. So it's students from all across the country who apply for this program, and I was just very fortunate to have that chance last year, or this year, I should say.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
So you once said that you almost didn't apply for the Truman Scholarship until like a friend encouraged you to. What did that experience teach you about believing in yourself and like seizing opportunities?
Yeah. I think for me, and this can kind of explain a little bit of my journey of actually applying to the Truman Scholarship, but I originally heard about it as a freshman, kind of late freshman year, early sophomore, if I remember, and thinking, wow, this is up my alley. I would love to do this. It seems so cool. Scholarship money. Who would
Who
say
doesn't
that?
want that?
Yeah. me, broke, trying to figure that out. But then I quickly realized how competitive it was. And so I kind of just put it to the back of my mind, didn't think about it. Until, as you mentioned, a friend really encouraged me. So that was Jane Drinkwater. She was the Truman Scholar from Utah who went to BYU last year, and she was a Truman Scholar in 2024. And when she won the scholarship in April of that year, I already knew her. And so I was like, wow, Jane, that's so awesome. Like, how'd you do it? Yeah. And she talked about her journey, and she was like, you should do it. And I was like, oh, wait, I don't know about that. But in conversations, she was extremely encouraging, very empowering, and really boosted my confidence. And so I really think if it wasn't for her, I would not have done this. And so from that point on, throughout the summer, I kind of really thought about my application, what that would look like, talked to some friends. And then fall of 24, I met with Amy McLaughlin, shout out, at the National Scholarship Office here at BYU. Their help and assistance is incredible. If any student wants to, they have the ability to meet with their office, and she is just awesome. So started putting together my application, applied through BYU's process in November, applied to the actual foundation in February of this year, interviewed in Arizona in March, and then actually heard back in April. So it was kind of quite a long,
that's a long process.
a long process it was. But it was, of course, extremely rewarding, and I'm very grateful for the people who helped me along the way.
Super sweet. I can imagine like the imposter syndrome where like people are like, shoot, what am I capable of this?
Oh yeah, no, completely. And that's one of the things I had is that I actually had friends that applied in the program with me. And that was interesting to navigate as well, just because I was like, well, I'm partially competing against these people, but with them as well. But they're my friends. And overall, they were also extremely empowering towards me and really just helpful. And through it all, I felt like I grew closer to them as well.
Yeah, that's important. I feel like, because I feel like during those hard processes, like I remember applying to my program, and it's like top 10 advertising programs in the nation, and I'm like, I'm not capable of this. And it took me like a whole year. Like I ended up even like backpacking Paris in Europe, because I was like, well, this is what all the artists did before in the days. I'm gonna do the same.
Oh, wow.
And so, but like at the end of the day, I feel like we're all so capable of things, and I think looking at it from like to keep it spiritual, from a God perspective, I'm like, I can imagine how He sees us, and He's like, you have the whole world in your hands. And so for you, like you said, you had your friends. What other things in your life kept you grounded, and do you give grace to and thanks to now?
Yeah, well, I think you hit on one of those most important aspects, was the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm a Latter-day Saint, I'm a Christian, kind of from the majority area of this area of Utah. But my faith really helped me throughout, in part because not only did it help in how I viewed others, but in how I viewed myself as well. When we understand that each of us are children of God, one of the biggest pillars of my testimony is that in understanding that we're all children of God, we understand that we all have divine worth that is equal. And so in part, whether that was me continuing in the program or not continuing, it was, okay, this doesn't determine my worth. And that's really difficult. I met a lot of students in this process who, mainly from other schools, I'll say, but who, one of the difficult things sometimes we struggle with is we put our academics as a way to validate ourselves. And that can be really challenging because as we're human, we make mistakes. And so understanding that our worth actually comes from our divine heritage and as children of God, I think that was what was most grounding for me and helping to view others too.
Sweet.
That's super cool. And I mean, you kind of hit on this, but like when you're working with people of like different ideologies, what strategies have you found most effective to finding common ground?
I'm still working on that. I think we all are. I think for me, one is that there's, of course, always more in common than we think. Just as you touch on, there is common ground. One of the things I think that is most surprising is while we often advocate for different solutions, they're usually towards the same problems that other people have also identified. And so in that instance, we have common ground. When we're talking about issues or problems, a lot of times we can actually identify similar ones. And I think that has helped me to bridge the gap, at least initially, to talk with people I ultimately disagree with. And then also, again, just kind of touching on faith, it's wow, this person is a child of God, or at least, and that's hard. Sometimes I have to remind myself of that. I'm not perfect, still working on that, but it really helps me to remember that their worth and the love from our divine creator is the same for that person as it is for me. Which means that I need to treat them with the level of respect that is treated towards me, or what I would hope for.
For sure. And I think that's such an essential thing, especially what you're getting into, politics and stuff like that and public service. That definitely grounds us, us as Christians and people of other faiths too. Like, I definitely think the core doctrines and the core principles we just need to learn as human beings is just empathy and respect. How are you facing, what experiences led you to do all of this? I bet you have a good brain on your head, and on your shoulders. So what led you to do what you're doing now?
Yeah. Ultimately, I think there's a lot of things that have contributed to why I've chosen the pathway that I have. One of the instances and experiences that stands out most to me was when I was younger, growing up in St. George in southern Utah. I had some extended family who were cattle ranchers and actually dealt with disputes over public lands with the federal government. This was about a decade ago, and that actually led to types of what I would say were political violence. Yeah. It hit national news. I remember sitting in 8th grade in U.S. history class watching CNN Student News.
Wow.
If you guys had that.
Yeah.
And extended family members popped up on the screen. And there were people that were labeling them as domestic terrorists. And that was a really shocking moment for me. And that kind of introduced to our dinner table conversations and family reunions discussion about what was going on. And obviously we don't have the time to talk about all those details, but I think ultimately what it really led me to believe was that I want something better, that for our community to lean towards political violence so easily, especially what we've seen recently at the time of this recording. It's the anniversary of 9/11, and just yesterday, Charlie Kirk, conservative commentator, was assassinated on UVU campus. And so recognizing all those things together, I saw that I wanted a better world for myself and future generations, and that I felt like polarization, particularly political polarization, had led to a world in which people felt the only way was through violence or political animosity. And so that was something I've really focused on and have tried to work towards. And then also our faith. Ever since President Nelson spoke about peacemakers, that's been, wow, this is a generation-defining moment of where our prophet is leading us to. And I think that has been more insightful every day.
Yeah, that's super cool. One question that we had for you is because you'll probably go into, and you have been in roles of leadership. And so what kind of leader would you hope to become, and what legacy would you like to leave?
A daunting question. I recognize with politics, if you ever want anything done, you have to work with others. I think that's one of the beautiful things about politics and government. And so for me, I quickly recognized I'm definitely not the smartest or most talented person in the room, but I do enjoy working with others, or at least talking with people, as I'm sure you guys do, doing this. And so I really want to be a leader who can work with others, who in politics can build a coalition to try and work towards solutions for the future, especially with a long-term goal. I think our generation has dealt with things that are more long-term that we need to be thinking about for the future as well. And so I hope to have a kind of a coalition one day of diverse people, diverse backgrounds, but we can all agree that we want something better. So hopefully that's a legacy. We'll see if that happens.
No, for sure.
That's super cool.
I mean, that's our hope too, I think the world is only getting crazier, it's only getting more, the gap is only getting bigger. Yeah. And so for you, studying all of this and wanting to apply public change and service, how do you plan on bridging the gap?
Yeah. It's a difficult thing to talk about because we talk about this bridging the gap, about being peacemakers, and yet we still see horrific acts of violence, even in our community. And so sometimes I think we get a little pessimistic, not only towards politics especially, but just to life in general. And so I think one of the things we really need to make sure is we always remain optimistic. Yeah. And that doesn't mean we have to be cheery all the time or, positively toxic in a way. For sure. But it means that if we want to do something, we have to keep working. We have to keep trying. No political decision is final. Yeah. And that's, again, I think one of the beautiful things of our country and of our nation is because we can keep striving, keep working. And again, I think it's just working with other people. I want to give a shout out to Alex and Maribella Keogh. They're both students in the political science department. And they started the Peacemaker Project. It's an academic association in the political science department. And that whole goal is just to bring people together, to have conversations, to do it peacefully. I don't think there are any other people I've seen take President Nelson's Peacemakers Needed message to heart than those two. And so I think look around to your community, see what other good things are going on, band together, and just take the next best step. So.
That's super cool. I saw an interview the other day where they were talking about how there's so many peacemakers in our community and how we need to show gratitude to them. And I was just wondering what are some ways that you think we could do that?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I do think, we kind of hear this a lot in social media and kind of traditional news media that it's only the negative stuff. And so I think one of the biggest things is call out the good things when you do see them. Yeah. Again, President Nelson talks about the healing power of gratitude. Right. And so, it doesn't mean just, commenting on the negative things, even though that can be important to create change. It also means highlighting those individuals who are working towards this peacemaking initiative and celebrating their success, even if it is limited, let's say. A conversation can only do so much. And yet again, I still think that conversation is so important. So again, put them high up, shout out from the rooftops, say, hey, this is good. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah. It's super cool.
I think it's a fun take to look at it, And you mentioned kind of briefly about the spiritual aspects of staying grounded. Being in this field, I feel like there's so much tension, unfortunately, but obviously both parties are trying to strive for greater good. What has helped you besides, like maybe give us a little debrief on how someone political, can meet that greater change with their community? So if we're talking about like a big aspect, you kind of talked about St. George and how it impacted your family. So I guess what change do you see or you hope to see within your community, and how we can be involved in that too?
Oh. Well, I feel like I have a long list at the back of my mind of changes I would like in our communities. But to just focus on a couple, I think, earlier you mentioned kind of how do we do this? And I think one of the most important things is half of the battle of change, whether that's political, social, cultural, whatever it may be, is showing up.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the biggest changes I actually do want is just to get our generation to show up more. I think that's extremely critical, because if we ever want our voice at the table and our voice in deciding the future, which is the rest of our lives, we need to make sure we show up. And I think there are really good initiatives on campus as well as in local communities to really activate and help our generation. Again, Charlie Kirk, whether you agree or disagree with his politics, he focused on youth activism. Yeah. I think that's an incredible piece that people can be doing and working on, trying to involve youth in their community. At a local level, here at BYU on campus, the Civic Engagement Office, which has a minor program, they help to register voters on campus in whichever state it may be. That's great. In the Political Affairs Society, one of the academic associations I work with, we are hosting a forum between candidates for Provo Mayor here on campus, where students can attend and ask questions and say, hey, I'm a member of this community. Here's my input. Or how are you deciding the future of this community with me in mind as a constituent? So
sweet.
More just in general, if like you could leave our listeners with a challenge or like encouragement, what would that be?
Again, so many challenges. Show up. Please vote. I think one of the biggest things, and I kind of talk about this in another article you mentioned earlier, is that do not doubt yourself. Not only show up physically, but show up for yourself in spirit and in worth. Because as soon as we doubt ourselves, we put arbitrary constraints on our worth, on our ability to do and accomplish, and that's only ourselves doing that. And then in tandem with that, I think also as we talk about depolarization and trying to have a better political conversation in our atmosphere, I do think we just need to talk more. Yeah. And it might sound weird. I feel like everyone online is always talking, but I mean more so in person. When was the last time you talked with a neighbor or a friend about politics? One of the difficult things is I think a lot of times people say, to keep the peace, we don't talk about politics. And, everyone has their own situations, of course. But part of me thinks if that's the case, there wasn't peace to begin with. Yeah. Whereas I'd love to see a world in which, we can still disagree, but do so in a healthy way. Yeah. And I think that's when we ask for peacemakers are needed, doesn't mean we sit on the sidelines or stay quiet. It means we really try to facilitate that conversation. And so show up, talk, know your worth, be confident, and listen to others, especially. So
sweet.
That's super cool.
That's really cool. I think that's what we all need. I like what you said. Peace isn't passive. It's a force. It's something that needs to be acted upon. And I kind of wanted another question from you, because at the end of the day, I feel like whether or not you are left, right, middle, centrist, I think for you, why do you think politics is so important? I could be sitting in a lunchroom and I'm like next to people who are so politically active, and then I see across from me people who are just like, living their day-to-day lives. So why do we all need to pay attention to what you're doing right now?
Yeah, that's a constant battle. I mean, half of America doesn't vote. And so, but I think what happened to me is growing up, my parents weren't necessarily politically active. I know my background might sound a little bit like, whoa, that's crazy that happened. But that was like second, third cousins. My parents weren't necessarily like out there knocking doors and everything. But they did serve in their community. And both my parents were public school teachers, and I saw how politics affected them a little bit, whether they wanted it to or not, in how their jobs worked or interacted. And so I think because of that, whether you agree or disagree, politics is part of all of our lives, because government is an aspect of all of our lives. Our communities are aspects of our lives. And so politics, even though it's gotten such a negative connotation over the years, is really just the interactions that we have as human beings in trying to solve problems. And so when I say be involved in politics, it doesn't have to mean rah, 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 your side or the other. Yeah. It just means let's talk about problems, solutions, interact as communities, try to work together, whether local, nationally, globally for some people on this campus. Yeah.
When you're trying to convince someone who's like you know, maybe not caring, you know, what's like one thing you do to tell them? You know, you did mention a little bit, but like if you're face to face with someone and I'm talking to someone and maybe our listeners are like, they didn't care about politics before. Yeah. You know, what's something you'd say to their face? Be like, do this. Like, this is step one.
Can I look into the camera?
Yeah, look into the camera.
Like, hello, future listener.
Yes.
I really think I would just say some of the same things, is that whether you like it or not, politics is around you. And again, that just means your community and the people you serve and love. And so I think it's trying to take out the politics from politics, if that makes sense, of just the negative connotations that we have from it. Your voice does matter. You know, a lot of elections are decided by just a couple of votes, especially locally. And you can do more than just vote. You can contact a representative. You can join an association, start a coalition, write an op-ed. As students, these are all things we can do. I've written a lot of op-eds, not all of them great, but some get published. And I think there are real tangible things that we can do. And so for those who are apathetic about politics and those things, I get it. It's exhausting. It really is. This week alone has been really tiring. But if we want to create a better world, we have to start somewhere, even if that just means little steps of talking. And I'm just so grateful that we have a prophet of the Lord who gives us divinely inspired invitations that help to root ourselves in what is true and what can help others. Be the peacemaker.
Yeah. Super cool. I like the way you put that, because I think a lot of the times politics can be like overwhelming. But like just like thinking about it like, oh, this is just my community. Like I just want to be invested and like know what's happening in my community like that. That's super cool.
Yeah. I think we got enough. But thank you so much, Dallin. We really appreciate your time here. And we love learning about you and the things that you're pushing and advocating for. And so, yes, guys, please give this a listen. Check out Dallin Bundy's socials, you know, take him out for a date. He would love to go dancing with you guys. That's sweet. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. If you liked this episode, take a leap and share it with your friends and family. And follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Take a Leap Pod. Take a Leap is a production of BYU Radio. I'm Ocean Marshall, and our production team includes James Sturdivant, Aaliyah Alexander, Heidi Hansen, and Neftali Rodriguez.